All right, welcome to Tailgate Talk. You want to follow us on socials, it is at On The Tailgate. I'm Sean Ritter, at The Real Ritter. Eric Tasker in studio as well, at Wisco Bow Hunting. Wags off again this week. Had a great time chatting with our buddy John Resnick last week. Still can't believe the awesome musky baits that he brought in for us. Mine is sat up on my bourbon bar / trophy shelf, so I did put it right next to that CMA trophy. Looks nice there.
That's a good spot for it, though, isn't it?
It's real slick, and again, that's really cool that he had those made, and so grateful, so awesome, good conversation. Great to look at some ice fishing stuff coming out to get you ready for ice season months ahead of time, so you're ahead of the rest of the pack. If you missed that episode, it's available on demand right now on the podcast channel. But what's the last week or so been like for you, Eric Tasker?
Well, I'm getting ready to get into the bulk of my vacation. So for me, that creates a lot of problems because I have a lot of different, my mom always told me, trying to keep everything going is like when you go to the circus and they've got like the guy that's got 9 different plates that are spinning, and you got to just try and keep them all spinning. And that's really hard for me to do that in advance of going on vacation. So it's always, this month of October is always kind of miserable for me because we start a lot of our annual planning with clients around now, and then trying to incorporate like a 3-day vacation, so like a Wednesday through Sunday trip up north, and then following that up 2 weeks later with like a whole 10 days away. It's really hard for me to do that.
Anyone that's ever been away, I think, understands and relates to, for every 1 day you're gone, that's 2 days of work you have to do.
Yeah, because you don't just get away from the 40 hours or 50 hours that you work. It's, I'm working 2.5 days this week. I have to put in twice as much effort in order to like try and either work ahead or it's just.
I shouldn't say anyone. Anyone that works not a factory type, but you know what I mean? Like that real true like blue collar factory type job.
Yeah.
The shift work thing, the kind of punch in, punch out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you don't necessarily have the whole work ahead, work behind because, the work just comes and you do the work as the work comes and you're gone and the work's still happening and you come back and you just jump right back into your spot.
Yeah.
There's days where that sounds like a very attractive way to go about things.
Don't it though?
But then I sit back and go, okay, wait, I'm making money, I'm being paid to create things like this, to talk about hunting, talk about fishing. So you know what? I'm never going to complain. I will do all the work that it takes because it's a great job, great opportunity, really cool thing that we get a chance to do.
And for me, being in this advertising world, for me, my money just continues to earn for itself, kind of in a way, because if I've got the campaign, up and running, and that we're advertising a product for whoever that might be. If I'm out for 3 days, my commercials are still running or the campaigns are still operating. So it's kind of nice in that sense that it's like I'm not really missing out. But what I have noticed is that it's kind of nice to go on vacation because what I've noticed is that every time that I go on vacation, orders end up coming in and then my backup ends up handling that for me. So I do like that. I kind of look forward to it in the sense of what's going to come in this time that I wasn't expecting, kind of a thing. But I'm excited. I think I don't know, man, if October is kind of an interesting month for deer hunting because a lot of people are like, oh, there's this October lull and whatever. But, man, I'm going to just keep getting out there and beating the path and trying to make it happen.
If anyone follows your socials, again, it's at Wisco Bow Hunting. Big believer in the moon phases, big believer in weather. You're always posting and showing things. I saw one back, I don't know, it was a week or so ago. We need to post something like, does anyone else get excited when they see this? And it was like that huge temperature drop.
Yes.
And, the moon phases that go with it.
That's one. I don't get into the moon phases. I just play it for what it is, and sometimes I'll play temperature drops.
Sure.
But moon, I don't really.
Which we had one of those last weekend.
Yeah.
So
I don't really get into that so much.
I know you don't, and you know what? I don't know.
And I'm not saying I don't believe it. I'm interested and intrigued in it to maybe it's something I need to focus on looking at to then make notes of that versus how I'm going about things.
Seeing what I didn't do last year that I'm trying to do a better job of this year is actually tracking that, taking a week-long snapshot for a number of weeks and then referencing what happens on my trail cameras. But it's hard because it's 6 weeks of data that you're going back and trying to compare, one thing to another thing, and then like what's actually happening and all of that. So I don't know how hard I'm going to actually look at that, but I am very curious about it. I do think that temperature drops are probably the biggest thing. Do I think that all the other things combined make a difference? Yeah. I mean, I like to think that all plays into deer movement. What is the most impactful thing? I think cold, because you go from 50 or 60 degrees and then all of a sudden one morning you wake up and it's 35 degrees outside. You're going to want to get up and stretch your legs and try and get that blood moving. That's just, I mean, I think that would be for anybody, right? The real telltale sign is what happens when you get out into the woods, and then that's just your own personal experience. That's not an overall general snapshot. Because there could be deer walking on the other side of the field that you can't see, and then you're like, oh, this doesn't even work. Doesn't make any sense. It's not great outside. It's terrible. So
70s to like 40s days that we've had through the month of October this year already is like totally cramping on my fishing style, because it's like I've caught those opportunities where it's like I want to get out fishing, but then there's that big temperature. I'm like, well, or I could, do a quick little 3-4 hours sit in a tree instead of spending 6 to 8 hours on the water. And I mean, quite frankly, it's almost less stuff I have to bring with, drag, carry, set up in a tree stand hunting situation than versus my kayak, because I've got so much. I mean, I guess I could go super bare bones and just grab 1-2 rods and a handful of tackle and jump in, but that's just not my style. I got to have all my stuff where I feel naked without everything all rigged up and ready to roll.
So speaking of fishing, Mr. John Resnick was very nice to offer us a few of his lures that he has. Who's going to lose one of those first, me or you? You fish more. Yeah. You have more opportunities to lose one.
Oh, you're talking about the hand-tied jigs that he brought in for us, the hand-tied chatterbaits and jigs?
Yeah, because I'm not using the custom-painted musky bait.
Definitely
not happening.
That's definitely going to be. I did have a conversation with John afterward and said, well, thanks. You probably saved me about $200 and probably gave me tackle to at least get me through like half of the tournament season next year.
I know. So that's what I'm curious what's going to happen with that, because I will cast into a poor spot and I'll get it hung up on something and I'll just end up losing it. You fish more, so you have more chances for that to happen.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know. I'll be curious to see what happens.
If you're not getting hung up, you're not fishing where the fish are.
Yeah.
That's what my father-in-law used to always say. If you're not getting hung up, you're not fishing where the fish are.
I love that.
Lay downs, trees. You're going to get hung up. Those sorts of things are going to happen. But
yeah.
It's kind of a freestyle show this week. Some stuff to talk about. I know there's a lot of chatter about those walleye guys still, and the cheating scandal. And a few people hit me up on Instagram are like, I can't wait to hear what you got to say about that. And quite frankly, I haven't said anything because there's not really anything to say. I think the rest of the fishing community is spoken for anything that I could possibly say. It's still crazy to me that there's two guys that put winning tournaments and like cheating in that manner. Like the whole shoving weights down fish, like that's always been mentioned and talked about like since the history of fishing tournaments. The old man, like I'm sure it's happened for years. It's happened. But not 2-pound leads, and not like maybe once or here and there in like some local little derb thing. You know what I mean? It's not to the level of these guys did. And so that's where the huge amount of attention. And I just don't know why any single person would put that above and beyond. Like, doesn't it feel cheap and dirty? Like, I want to win outright. I want to do what I do, which is why, I'm that person that can do what I did this last year, fishing kayak tournaments like I did, swing for the fences, get my teeth kicked in, make some mistakes along the way, and still be happy about it because I fished my way. I did what I wanted to do, and it didn't work out, but I still feel successful because I learned a ton, and I had a lot of fun, and I did things my way. I like doing things. I'd rather do things I'd rather lose my way than win cheating.
Well, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I think that's what they always said, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it.
I think the outdoor industry as a whole on social media has just run with this whole thing. It is so funny now, just all of the different memes that have come out about it, like a bag of weights, and it's like asking $500 for this. I know what I got or whatever. I don't know. I mean, they're making light of something that's really terrible, but I think that's what this community kind of does is they just, I don't know, try and make fun of the crazy, wild things that happen. And this just happens to be another one of those things that is very easy to make fun of.
Yeah, we can, I guess, rip on those guys and be thankful that they did that in order to take the attention off of the, debate that everyone else would be having of whether crossbows are an actual bow and
cross guns.
Yeah, all of the arguments that go about on social media, which was a great conversation we had actually with Eric of Okayest Hunter. If you're not familiar, don't follow them on social platforms. A whole big part of their platform is, ending the whole buck shaming, ending how people hunt, ending how people shame other people for how they hunt and do things like that. Really, really cool episode. Again, that's available on demand if you haven't checked it out. Strong suggest it. They're a cool group of dudes that are doing some really awesome stuff. So you can go check that out. Tailgate Talk, by the way, brought to you by Buck Rub Outfitters. You can check them out, buckrubarchery.com. Perfect place to go to keep you in shape for bow season, get you ready for bow season. They've got the indoor and outdoor courses, one of our favorite places to go, especially when it comes to getting geared up. And I know I just saw them post not too long ago on their socials, all the new Raven crossbows they got. The best thing about, Buck Rub is, one, their stock is full. A lot of stores are still out of things or a certain size. They tend to have everything, and they will price match. You find something online, they'll match that price. And best of all, you don't have to wait for it to be shipped, any of that. Boom, if they got it in stock, it's yours. Really, really cool thing that Buck Rub Outfitters does. So go and check them out off Silver Note Road in Pewaukee, or like I said, buckrubarchery.com. You sent me something earlier, Eric Tasker, I thought was kind of intriguing, and I thought, we should bring this up and talk about it a bit, because with more people hitting the woods now, with, bow season going, there's been, the whole youth gun hunt. We're getting ready for gun season, eventually would be about a month away from now. 7 most common reasons deer hunters get tickets. I thought that was a very interesting little thing.
Yeah, there's a couple different things in here. I just very quickly walked through this, but I think it touches on a couple different things that either you and I have talked about separately, or the three of us have talked about separately, or has come up in conversation on our show in the past 2 years or whenever. Some really don't at all apply, but I don't know. Let's just walk through it. So the first one is failure to read the regulations, which seems like a very easy thing to understand.
In the state of Wisconsin, though, I would say it's difficult, because I've always got to be looking at the regs, mainly because I'm looking at season dates. Because we had 2-3 week whatever of a bow season. Then as soon as any guns go out, we got to wear the blaze orange. Then we get to take it off. Then we got to put it on for a weekend. And then we get to take it off. And then we get 2 weeks. And then we got to put it back on for 2 weeks. And then we take it off and we put it on for a week. And then we take it off for 4 days. And then we put it on for a week. See, it's so back and forth of what the regulations are with that. You got to keep track of every little season. We have so many of these micro, small gun seasons that I definitely think that is the number one, because there's another one that's actually on the list we'll get to that I think falls off of what I brought up with failure to read the regs.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just something you got to be conscious of. Just at least having a general idea of okay, last weekend was the disabled and the youth hunt. That's obviously a big one. There's a lot of people out in the woods with rifles at that point in time. So if you're hunting public land, you got to make sure you got your orange on. So, this one, number 2, not carrying the right license, is interesting to me. Now, I have not thought about it since I got my Go Wild card. Mm-hmm. Do you have one of those?
I did last year, but I didn't bother this year, because I'm what's the difference? My driver's license is basically the same thing. Why am I spending $3 to...
Yeah.
I mean, I still have a Go Wild card, but it's a 2021 card. So I'm do you have to get a new one every year? That's why I was you know what?
No,
if I have my driver's license, or I'll just carry my paper tags. And really the only time that I need it is when I'm fishing, Door County.
Right.
When I'm fishing the Bay of Green Bay, I've got to have my actual fishing license with me, because I'm on a federal navigable body of water, which my stuff is always in my tackle crate anyway. So it's always on my boat. I've always got my licenses with me.
So now I have to go back. I have not looked at this, because I've just always carried my paper tags with me. But I remember that when I got that, there was something that said that if you have your Go Wild card, which it is good for, it's not an annual thing. It's good for, at least I remember, and I might be wrong. And I'll just be showing how foolish I am here.
I mean, otherwise I put it up again, in Ontario, Canada. When now you've experienced and gotten your what is it? What do they call it?
Ontario, whatever, the conservation card.
Yeah, which is basically the same thing. Yeah, so me,
I think it's dated because it's just the year that you got it.
Okay.
But I think it's always valid.
Right, it still has your customer ID number. That's
it has
basically,
all of your information on it. Now, what I thought it said was that you do not need to have paper tags if you have that card. That replaces it.
And something on most licenses, your driver's license will also replace having paper tags.
Yeah, so I can see how this would be an issue because, what if like your fishing license, because there's stamps and everything involved with that, I think you have to have stamps. Any stamp, whether that's fish or fowl, you have to have the stamps physically on you.
Well, only the federal waterfowl stamp you have to have with you. So the state stamps are not required to be with, but as a waterfowler or a former waterfowler, you always had to have your federal stamp and you had to have your signature. You had to sign across the middle, of the front face of your card. That's the only stamp that physically had to be carried with you that I could remember. And again, everything's on paper.
Yeah. Okay. So that is one thing that kind of stood out to me. Like, I could see how that'd be an issue because, maybe you didn't correctly read that or whatever, and you were in a situation where you had one and not the other or whatever. So, number 3, no written permission. I mean, I don't know. I don't have an issue with this because obviously I'm just hunting public land, so It's not like I really ever have to worry about that. But there's a big thing with that where if you are paying to hunt a private land, if you're leasing land from somebody, there's more that goes into that because of insurance reasons. And then obviously just also having it has to be written approval that you are able to go and hunt that land. Pushing shooting light. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When I was sitting out there 2 weeks ago, I was thinking to myself, you know what? It's like shooting light is 6:34 or 6:36 or whatever. And I could have very easily taken shots at 6:45 or
night,
whatever.
you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of pushing it. I
The
know you're
morning has
very
been the
stringent
different
about
one.
that. Dude, it's way opposite.
Right.
It's way after
it's
that.
No, it's a little too dark in the morning. Like when the shooting light, the time has come. A lot of times where we hunt, where we are in the eastern part of the state or southern Wisconsin, we're in that like +4. So whatever the regs come out that time, and that's the other thing, reading the regs, knowing the regs, you got to know exactly where you are based on your increments of adding 4 minutes, because obviously you start in the east, it's one time, and every, so many miles you work your way west, there's 4 minutes added to the shooting light.
Yeah.
So, I agree. The evenings has been like, oh, it's still like super light outside. But in the morning, it's like, it's still too dark to be shooting. I guess we'll have to wait it out. We can shoot anytime now, but I'm not going to until I know.
Yeah. And for sure, more than +4 where we sit together.
Yes.
Because it was at least 20 minutes after, and I was still thinking it would have to be within 10 yards. It would look really cool with sending a Luminoc through it.
Yeah.
But also very sketchy still at that point in time. Not wearing orange. What do you think about that?
See, that's one that piggybacks off of number 1 to me, is not wearing the orange. This is actually something I remember bringing up when we had Kaz in with us in that conversation, which, by the way, that is up on demand if you missed it. We really dive into, I want to say, the politics and policies and just all the quagmires that come with setting regs and setting the rules and setting quotas and counts and all that sort of stuff. But I said, really, do you see any issue, any problem with just making it standard and easy that it didn't matter what you were hunting, you did the orange cap and orange vest, period? Just be done with it. Then squirrel hunters, deer, boa, everyone just does it, and it's fine. I think the only people that I would say could be exempt perhaps would be waterfowlers. But to me, squirrel hunters, bow hunters, it just makes it easy. Then you don't have to worry about it. You just always know orange cap, orange vest. I'm good to go. Everyone can see everyone.
What do the deer think about that? Can they see orange?
No, and I believe even Kaz said, to me, I always think of deer, they're far more like dinosaurs. Motion and things stand up to them far more than a color. I mean, my understanding is they're fairly colorblind and see things in a version of almost like a gray-brown. So, again, why I'm not so worried about camo. Your camo pattern slightly mismatched, or it doesn't completely match the area you're in. It doesn't matter.
I mean, but if you were worried about it, I would suggest wearing Realtree.
Our forefathers killed so many animals, walk in the woods in blue jeans and the exact
similar
same,
to your outfit right there.
Kenora dinner jacket that I'm wearing here. So I am not too concerned with things.
Oh, that's funny though. Yeah. Number 6, improper gun casing.
That used to be a problem here. Ever since like the concealed carry thing went away, now we don't have to case guns or anything in vehicles. You can just throw them in. My father-in-law grew up down south. I remember him telling stories about the sort of stuff, and that's how it is. And anyone I've ever known down south is like, the whole shotgun in the rear rack of your, gun racks in your trucks. And it was so weird and foreign to me growing up in the state of Wisconsin and always having to case your guns.
See, I'm the exact opposite.
It used to be, I don't know if you remember back of this, okay? And I think maybe the loaded gun thing still is a part of it. Well, maybe not. I'm not certain, so I don't speak of the term. But it used to be, and I remember this was beat into us during hunter safety when I was younger, was don't walk up to your vehicle and rest your loaded gun on your vehicle. You can get poked for that because your gun is not cased. Or a great one that I've actually seen happen in person when those rules were still in effect. We were at waterfalling, and a guy went walking up to his truck, unlocked his truck, and set his gun on the front seat of his truck while he started taking his clothes off. Warden comes walking up. Bingo.
That's
loaded
garbage.
Gun inside the vehicle. Busted.
See, and that's, I feel like that goes for any... That's where it can get tricky, and that's where DNR wardens and police officers get bad raps. When these stories go out about things like that they're like, okay, you're obviously having a bad day. You're going to give this guy a ticket.
Or, it's their job to enforce the law, to enforce the rules, and so, they have to. I don't like it. And I think it all also really comes down to how you treat them and how you interact with them. I mean, it so happened, that was, again, waterfalling when I was in northeast Wisconsin around Green Bay, and all the wardens knew me. And so, we'd see them all the time. And I used to give them a hard time. We'd bump into them, at a boat launch. And it was like, hey, I saw you today drive by, slow roll and look. Why don't you stop by and say hi? We used to just, encourage them, stop by and say hi.
Right.
And they were like, we don't want to bother. In fact, one of the guys, Darren, had said to me one time, he goes, because I know you guys aren't breaking law. You're just doing everything right.
Right.
I got no reason to stop. I'm going to go hit the clowns up the road that I know might be doing something wrong.
Yeah. See, and we always, for us, this gun in the vehicle thing is always just not even something I would even think about because we always unload first.
Yep. Same thing.
Pull magazines out. All that. We do all of that before we get in, and we always, to protect the gun in the vehicle so that if it slides around or whatever, we always put it right back in the case.
Yep.
That's just it's not even a thing that we think about. It's just our natural thing that we do. So it's like I just completely overlook a lot of this stuff that is second nature to us.
Taking our guns out in the boats and thinking back to, the diver hunting days and layout hunting and stuff. The guns were always, we did like the gun sock sort of thing, case, whatever, because it was just thinner and easier to put in. But yeah, gun was always enclosed within that, and that was handed to you in your layout, and then while you're sitting there, you quick undo it and put it away, and again, you slip it right back in the sleeve, because it gives it a handle, it gives it something easier, the shoulder strap, and again, the same thing, and the gun's not getting beat around and scratching and banging into things, it's protected in that case, so that's always been a no-brainer, just unload, put it in the case, and go. I've always done that. My bow is the same thing. First thing I do is I get back to the vehicle, I pop up my bow case, and set my bow in the case, strap it in, and close it up. I want to protect it as much as I can.
Yeah. And I think that bows are so much more sensitive to it that it's like, why would you ever even have it out of there?
Yeah.
We had before we get into this last one, we had a housewarming party for one of Sherry's coworkers last week or the week before. One of the girls, her dad is a police officer. We were talking about shining deer.
Mm-hmm.
And because Vince, our buddy Vince, is always talking about, shining a couple fields up north of us. And the one thing that I would have probably not thought of is if you have a firearm, whether that's cased, uncased, whatever, if you have a bow or a gun in the vehicle and you're shining, you will get a ticket.
Absolutely.
For that. And I guess I would not, that's another thing that I would have just been oblivious to, that I would never think about actually acting on that. I would shine for sure, but I would never think about doing that. So I would just be oblivious and I would get a ticket.
I'm going to give you the reasonable suspicion and then right to probable cause right there for that, because you're displaying that you have the capability to do it.
To do it.
And the fact that you shining is not I believe it's illegal anyway now.
It
isn't
is
it?
legal.
So I mean, you're already breaking the law. It is legal.
It is legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a time where it got a little sketchy of things, and I grew up. That was what we do on a Saturday night up north for fun. Be like, sit around, and be like, oh, it gets dark. Oh, let's go shining, or go out at 10 o'clock at night. And let's go shining and seeing the cool stuff we can see in fields.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you the number of bear and deer and all the stuff I seen growing up.
Yeah.
Coyotes, all that stuff by just shining fields. That was like an activity in the North Woods, which I still think is an activity for a lot of people in the North Woods. But we never had weapons with us when out doing anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. So I can see how that happens. And then the last thing is not punching a tag. I mean, that seems, I don't know. The article actually says we're in a different situation in the state of Wisconsin where we have 24 hours to register, or it has to be by 5 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
So you could really be in a situation where you're, I don't know. I think about us up north where we don't always have the greatest reception. We could be driving from the woods into town, get pulled over, and not have a deer registered. But then we are obviously in a different situation here. The article, I don't know if it says what state. It doesn't say what state this was, but
yeah, I wonder how many states still do you actual have to remember when, you used to have to wear the back tag.
Right.
And your back tag had your license, so then you'd have to be able to cut off that portion of your license and then slit your little date and all time and all that, and then attach it to the ear or the antlers or whatever.
Wrap it around the antler or whatever.
I kind of feel like being cheated out that's not that way anymore, because I feel like that's a part of the.
I know.
You know me, I'm always about the romanticism of it, and to me, there's something that's kind of romantic.
Wrapping one of those sticky tags around an antler. I mean, it's just
slitting it.
Right.
There's something to that I think adds to the whole overall experience of things. Versus now it's just I got it, and then I jump my phone and go, duh, 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 which I get. It's
right.
I love it. It's easy, super convenient.
Super
as a
convenient.
waterfowl, again, been doing it with geese for years, but it kind of takes away from that.
Yeah.
Even turkeys, you used to have to, same thing, slit and tape and attach your, to your birds. You don't have to do that anymore. Same thing as deer. You just and
this exactly reminds me of exactly what you were talking about, the romanticism of it, because in this article, the author says, whenever I kill a doe or a buck, I don't move it an inch before I validate my tag. State laws vary, though, so keep that in mind. Whatever. But that's the difference that we're in, is that, we can just do it electronically, and we don't even have to worry about it.
I think out west, because I remember seeing my boy Brandon Polnick, the elk that he harvested in Idaho. He, the first photo that he tagged off was a picture of his hand with the two little slits cut out laying in his hand.
That
had the
that
month
was
and the
sweet
day
to follow along with.
So that again, that's cool. I don't know.
Oh, and this guy says here in Virginia at a different part of the article, but yeah, I don't know. It's just some of those little things. And even just as we were talking through it, we can quickly see different scenarios where that could happen, that you could get in trouble. So just be smart about it.
Things to help you out to make sure you don't get ticketed or fined, and to feel good that in the Midwest, typically in Wisconsin, Minnesota, we don't really have so many of those rules.
Yeah,
so
we got some leeway.
Yeah, we got a little more leeway on this. So, Ritter and Tasker in studios. Again, follow us on socials an the tailgates. I am at the real Ritter, as in fishing reel. At Wisco Bow Hunting is Eric Tasker. Wags off again this week. So we were talking about the ways to not get cited as a deer hunter, but this was a fun one that came across back a couple of weeks ago, and it was fishing superstitions. Thanks to TargetWalleye.com that did this list of things.
This could be good. I could like this.
And not even having to name down some of these superstitions. I'm just going to skip all that. But the idea came up to me because I feel like we're all a little superstitious, or at least a little stitious, as Michael Scott would say. Is there any superstitions that stand out to you, Eric Tasker? Because to me, this is going to sound maybe strange, but every time I climb up into a tree, I actually do kind of almost a little prayer with myself after I sit and get settled down. That's one of the superstition things I always have to do. Fishing, I feel like I always throw the first one back, unless it's in a tournament and I have to weigh it. But otherwise, first fish always goes back of everything.
Okay. I don't know that I really have any true superstitions about hunting.
You don't wear the same clothes, anything like that? I've gotten that.
I've only got a couple sets of camo. I've got 2 sets of camo. One is early season, one is late season, so that doesn't really do anything for me. We have a lot of rituals and routines and things that we do.
I would call it a ritual or routine as part of the superstition. Do you at some point feel that you're not performing that certain item may affect your ability?
No.
No,
Not really.
You definitely don't have OCD then.
Yeah, no, I don't really. So for me, I would say you and I are very different on this. Is that I always like to wash my clothes in scent-free like detergent,
Yeah,
which you don't do that.
Don't
you
bother
don't buy
with scent.
it.
Nope, don't buy with scent stuff.
But I think that would probably be my biggest thing is that I do try to be very conscious about scent, which is like my big thing, I guess, scent-free stuff or like spraying your boots or whatever. I mean, that would be a thing for me. If I didn't do that and I was in the woods, I wouldn't be like, I'm not sitting here today. I would just be like, all right, whatever. Well, we didn't do everything that we possibly could have. But the one thing that is changing for me this year is that before we got on the show, we were talking, you and I were just kind of talking, is that I'm like trying a couple things out, figure out a diet and eat better and all of that. There has never been a time in the last 10 years that I did a morning hunt without a brown sugar and cinnamon Pop-Tart.
Interesting.
And I did not do that on the first day of the season this year when we got out early.
Okay.
Too many carbs, too many sugars.
Okay.
So that was a big change for me. I mean, you want to talk about a fit that I was having with my wife about it.
Yeah, are you blaming that for the reason you didn't see any deer and only squirrel hunters on opening day
That
of
could be,
season?
yeah. I mean, I will now for sure. I mean, so I don't know. Are we going to have to change that? I don't know because, I don't know. That is one thing. That is just always like, I was telling my dad, I don't know, one of the times I said something to him and he's like, well, do you want a brown sugar and cinnamon Pop-Tart? And I said, no, I don't. And he's like, are you okay? So it's a thing for us. It's for sure a thing for us.
I never bring snacks. Like, I have usually like 1 or 2 Epic bars just randomly in my bag. If you're not familiar with Epic bar, it's basically like a condensed, like pushed down piece of jerky. Like I do the venison one. There's a couple different bison versions that I'll eat as well. I usually have those just in my bag and they kind of sit there through the season. If like randomly I decide to stay longer or something. But again, me, I'm fast. I don't eat until after 12, 1 o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
So if it's doing a morning sit, I don't need a snack. My coffee is always with me.
Yeah.
I can't live without my coffee. And to me, coffee tastes great. And that's when I say I can't live with coffee, it's not like
it's an addiction.
But I really don't think it is because I can go and not drink it. I genuinely enjoy the taste of coffee and less of the caffeine. The caffeine is not the part of the addiction for me. It's like that experience. It's that taste, that aroma, that, just sitting down on a Sunday morning on the couch with a nice cup of coffee, especially like fall and winter, the fire going. It's great.
Yeah.
Same thing I will say about being in the woods. There is nothing better than about 7:30, 8 o'clock after sitting for a while, reaching down in the bag, pulling out that insulated cup and having that beautiful hot cup of coffee, slowly kind of flipping that lid up and just going.
Yeah.
While you're smelling nature. Yeah. Everything's cold around you, this nice like hot beverage. Oh, coffee tastes so much better in the woods.
And because you are not concerned about scent, the coffee is not a thing.
No. I am not worried about that.
Bears are smelling coffee. They're waking up with Folgers with you.
Are you worried about your brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart?
No, because
I tell you, cinnamon is a far more pungent odor than the little bit that coffee's going to give off.
I don't think they smell that bad.
See? That's my point.
I don't know.
How many people
It's gone immediately, though. You're sipping over and over again.
Well, no, but I mean, that's why the lids, I'll flip up. I have my little sip, and then I close. I usually take like 2 or 3 sips, and then I'll close the lid, and I'll slowly push it back down into my bag.
Okay. Well, let me hear about yours. What you got to have? I know you got something.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, I a lot of times will drive the same route to something.
Okay.
Boy, I'm not like crazy. Where like, I count every, every little strand on a jig. You don't count your
steps 3/4 of a mile out to your stand.
No. As I'm thinking about like fishing, like counting every little strand of rubber on your jig and be like, oh, this one's got too many strands of blue. I got to pull some of those. Like, I'm not that.
You're not like that.
I'm not like that at all. I mean, how I rig my swim baits, I get a little specific. How I tie my knots.
Yeah.
I get a little specific with that. But I think any angler is that way, especially in a competitive mindset. Like, you're going to be very specific about your knots. And when I'm just like fun fishing, I actually, I would agree. I'm a little more laxed about it, but no, I'm still pretty specific on my knots. I get a little more in depth, I think, with some knot. The fact, okay, you're right. Here we go. For the fact that I will never tie straight to braid. I always run fluorocarbon leader, and I will only tie the uni to uni.
not. I will do a Unity.
Yeah, boy, I heard
to
about that
combine
a
the
lot
two.
in Canada. Let me tell you,
And I was
because
yelling at Gary and everybody like, what are you doing putting
What
these
are you
snap
guys
swivels
doing?
on here? This is
Yeah.
get rid of these damn snap swivels. Let me just tie the leaders on. You don't put a snap or the regular barrel swivels that would go the braid to the barrel swivel to the leader to then a snap. It's like, no, what are you stop?
What
no.
are you doing?
I am
You-
a very specific believer in, and some people will say doing like the FG knot is a better knot to do. To me, I'm good with my Unity uni. I've never had an issue. And I've tied so many of them. I mean, you see me do it, how fast I just, here you go, and everything's all set. I think with anything more, you do it. I think an FG takes a little more work to get it tied up. The Unity uni I can just do faster. So that's why I just stuck with it, because it's something I could do faster on the fly than having to like use the real handle. It's things more in depth with trying the FG knot versus Unity uni. So maybe that's a superstition. I always have to have the Unity uni tied.
I wonder, I'm like, I found this article from Meat Eater and just going through their superstitions. I don't know. I have not found anything that's kind of like, this is wild. What are they? How can this possibly be a thing? But most of them are, you asked about like clothing or whatever. Most of them are. Mark Kenyon said that he had a lucky pair of boxers that was obviously unsustainable for reasons you can imagine.
Yeah.
And then another one of the guys says, I had dozens of different superstitions around fishing. Most of them involved articles of clothing.
I still feel that's the most people there. They're probably more in articles of clothing of things.
You know what? I will say this, as I was looking at getting my hunting stuff together for this weekend, I remember that last year I wore my Realtree regular camel hat all season until I wore my green and tan Matthews hat for the first time in the woods, and that's the day that I hit that buck last year. And I thought to myself this morning, I might wear that today and see if there's something to it.
Interesting.
So I don't really, but hey, if it makes me think that it's gonna work, I think that's part of my thing with the like the Deercast and all of these other things that I kind of follow. Is I like to have optimism before I go into the woods.
Yeah.
Not that I wouldn't any other time, because honestly, if I didn't have that, I would find a reason to be optimistic about getting out there. That is more of it to me. That somebody else who has a ton more hunting experience or fishing experience has done the research and is saying that this is going to be a good day, it gives me the optimism to do that. Because I can tell you right now that if I look at my Garmin and the outdoor, like whatever this outdoor hunting and fishing thing that they have on here, the Hunt and Fish app on Garmin's, it will tell you if it's a good day, average day, excellent day, whatever. And I think,
never believe that crap.
I think
it's all hooey.
Always moon based.
It's gotta be.
I figured this out.
It's gotta
for.
be. It's just like you used to have to read the old Field and Stream magazine. Remember flipping through Field and Stream? You'd get it, and then it would give you the whole month of all the days. It would give you your good, better, best. Your time would be like one page before that. It's all moon. Is all they were doing on that.
And this is, I mean, it's not pulling up right now, but it'll basically give you 4 windows. The 2 best hours of the day and the 2 good times of the day. And that's exactly it, is that when me and my dad are in the woods, he'll be like, oh, what are the best times today? What are the best times today?
I think that's the old school mentality coming out.
10:45 until 11:56 is supposed to be the best window of the day. So we would look forward to it from 7:30 a.m. until 10:30 when we're getting into that hour. And then we would maybe we'd see a deer. Honest to God, I bet most of the time that we saw deer were actually within that window, but does that make any difference? I also saw deer before that. I saw deer after that. It just was all a timing thing. I'm not foolish enough to think that that is exactly why they came out at that time. I'm common sense enough to think, well, there's just deer that are walking through at this point in time, because there's just as many times where we don't see anything then.
It's like fishing. There's always a fish to be caught somewhere at some time. Are you doing the right thing to catch them? That's all that matters. And when you think back to pattern of things, I always feel like I do better after 9 a.m. whenever I'm on the water. I feel like definitely once especially on a sunny day. If it's a sunny day, as soon as the sun comes up, the more the sun is up, the better I get, the better fishing gets for me.
Okay.
Which I think is anyone could be that same way, but that's an added confidence. So I know it's a sunny day. If I struggle a bit for the first couple hours, like, all right, give it till 8:39, get some more sun out, warm that water up just enough. I got it. I'm fine. So there's a bit of I don't want to say a superstition, but there's that comfort thing of that. Any fish before then is a bonus. Those early 7 a.m.s, those, that's 6 to 7, those are bonus fish, man. I love catching those early ones.
Interesting.
Later in the afternoon, I've not done as well, but then I usually don't fish past 2 or 3. I'm not a night fishing type person. I'm a morning, because again, whether I'm fun fishing, it's I go out for a bit, morning into the afternoon, but everything's based on an 8-hour day for me. So if I'm out at 6, I'm off the water at 2, or, that's I just typically don't fish late afternoons and nights, so I don't have any data in my mind to back it up. Deer hunting the same way. I pretty much exclusively do morning sits. I've done very few evening sits.
Yeah.
And in the last 2 years now, I've done one, I'll call it all day sit, but really it was 3/4 day sit because I gave it to, 5:30 or 6
something like that,
on opening day of bow season, just because I was at that point, I'm not hanging in here any longer. I've been out here all day. I've, had that one doe. And I just, at that point was let's just go home.
I would like to say that we are in a spot where we could do just a morning, get out of the woods, go to the bar, have a burger, do all of that, and come back and sit out in the afternoon. We never do that. I mean, I think it's mostly because we are just limited on our time up north.
Yeah.
That we have, the first time that we go up, we'll get up there Wednesday night, we'll hunt Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then maybe Sunday morning. But you think that's 3 days that we're going to get. So we got 36 hours to see deer. We want to be in the woods for the entire time.
That's right.
Because I don't believe in the midday lull. Because, I always track deer, going through and this rut report that I kind of keep track of for years. And, I will continue to do that. I see deer all the time between 10 and 2. Mm-hmm. I think 11 to 12 o'clock is the hottest hour where we are. And for whatever reason, if they're just moving in between or doing whatever, but I went through and this was OCD for sure of me. I went through and I actually marked at what time, the hours of the day. I had a 24-hour schedule and I said, how many deer have I seen in each hour of the day?
Oh, it's almost like spreadsheeted. You got all
I spreadsheeted it, yeah, because that makes sense to me. So I went through and 11 o'clock was the 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock were the most common hours for us to actually have deer coming through in daylight. It might have been different for overnights and 24-hour, but what makes us stay out there all day is the fact that we see deer all day long. It's not just a morning and an afternoon, and it's not like we can just get in and out because we're in a box blind or we're in a ladder stand or whatever. We're both in climbers, and it's going to make a ton of noise. And if we get out at 10:30, then we could be getting out right when deer are coming in.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the fear that everybody always has is you never know when they're going to be there, but
that's it. That's the addiction for me of where I have a hard time telling myself to stop. It's because it's always what's going to come around the ridge next. Any minute this could happen. Any minute you don't know.
I love that.
And that's what is same thing with fishing. I throw up there in that, hole in that weed bed or up against that laydown, what's in there? When's the next, fish going to come? That's what makes me never quit. Yeah. Never want to quit.
And I have to, I guess, thank you for that, because up until you and I started sitting together, I had never done a half-day sit before, ever. I had never just gone out and just said, we're going to get out in the morning and we'll sit until 11 or whatever, and then we'll get out of the woods. I've never done that before, and that was kind of weird. But now that I'm doing it, it's really nice.
It opens up a few more opportunities for you because you realize that you don't have to take an entire day. You can still take those full days, but to add more opportunity, you can take those smaller chunks here and there. And that's the way I like to do it. And just time constraints me. I only had mornings available. If I wanted to hunt, it was I could probably hunt one full day on a weekend. Mm-hmm. And you think about how many weekends throughout a season I have versus if I hunt all these mornings throughout a season. You add that together, that's more opportunity than would have been if I just put all my eggs in one day on, the select number of weekends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I try to be super quiet in and out. So that's where, it's slip in, slip out, real super quiet, real, stealth too, to not booger anything up too bad. And I never really sit in the same spot. And I try and move and rotate areas also within a property.
So you might be a bad person to ask this to, because I don't think that you overdo any, like, you aren't constantly on the water. You would love to fish more than you actually can.
Right.
Because of time
constraints. If I could do it every
and family
day,
commitments and everything.
Oh yeah, I would fish every day if I could.
You also don't hunt a ton. You know, you do it with your limited opportunities that you do have. The one thing that I told Sherry this year at the beginning of this season, I probably told you this too, is I refuse to be a volume hunter. I'm not going to be a volume hunter. And I can't tell you how many times a week she asks me, when are you hunting this week? Why aren't you getting out, this weekend? Or, whatever. I have completely shifted my mindset to rely on some of those other factors and the other intel that you get from, an app or the moon phases or whatever that might be, to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit every day. I'm just not going to do that. I will take the opportunities when I think that conditions are good or wind is in my favor or whatever. I am terrified of burnout.
Yeah.
Because, I'm going to have 7 hunts in before I would have had my first hunt last year by the time we go up north next weekend. Where that becomes a challenge is when we do this 10-day stretch, because that's a long time, and it never fails. Every year it happens. We have one night where the drinks are flowing and we don't hunt that next morning, and that's fine, because it's usually
it's built in.
We get up there Friday, and it's usually like the next Thursday or the next Friday, because it's like we've got 6 full days behind us already. We put in the effort. And, if we get out there at noon one day because we were out until 2 o'clock, then that's fine.
I mean, you saw the not quit, the you can't slow me down in Canada firsthand.
Oh, and I was right there with you. Because I was like, we're here, dude. We got to fish.
And I could do that every day. It was, go out, fish all day. Like, I don't even want to stop for lunch. I'll just keep fishing through. We'd come back, do dinner, and then immediately, like, let's jump in a boat and let's go. Let's go fit. Like, that's like that weird psychotic part that's built into my mind.
So do you think,
go.
So my question with that then is, do you think that that's a real challenge that hunters face? Do you think people burn themselves out earlier in the year because they're excited and maybe they haven't notched a tag yet or whatever? It's something that I've thought a lot about, that I guess I don't really talk about it. It's just something that I've mentally,
I could see it,
kept in my mind, that I refuse to be a volume hunter.
Fishing, you mentioned, like, I would love to fish every day. I don't do a lot of the volume because I'm selective of things like that.
Right.
Watching weather and dealing with those things. Again, being a kayak angler, it's different. I have to be mindful of those things.
Sure.
And also thinking on high volume weekends with boat traffic and stuff. Where I just don't feel like, I don't want to frustrate myself and deal with, that sort of problems that come from it. Not saying that every person that's on a boat on a lake, or I own the lake because I'm in a kayak and you don't in a boat, but we've talked about it on the show. You've witnessed it and experienced it with me. Some of those people you can encounter on lakes that just shouldn't be driving a boat. And it's like, I'd rather not frustrate myself, and I'd rather eliminate that day.
It takes the joy out of it.
Yeah, that's just it. I'd rather eliminate that day and do something else and take that energy I would have put into that day and go a different day.
Yeah.
And so I really move things around. And there's also the content creation part that I do. Yeah. That I don't want to go out on a crappy, like, pouring rain garbage day, because well, yes, there's great content being created that way. There's just so many other steps and camera and all the stuff I have to worry about, where if it's just like a cloudy day or even like a light drizzle, it's not as bad.
Right.
So I'm just not going to go, and let's face it, to go out and get soaked all day is miserable. I've fished through that. If it's a tournament, I'm going to grind it. But if it's just like I don't have to and it's just fun fishing, I know I can go out there and catch fish. I don't have to go and do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something that I think it can easily be overlooked until you hit the wall.
Yeah.
You can put yourself, you can get into that situation very easily and then just be like, you know what, I'm done. And that's not fun either, So I don't know. I hope it pans out for both of us this year, but but it's a matter of.
I said 2 deer. I figured I was going to get 2 deer. We talked about some more plans. I still plan 2 deer. I probably should already have 1. Huge mistake, big mistake.
That's all right. It happens.
But that's just it. That's hunting. Bow hunting.
And so wait, so is
hard.
this? I don't know if I know the answer to this or not. Have you shot a deer with your bow before?
Never with my bow.
Ever.
I've never shot a deer with a bow before.
So either way, one will be a huge success.
Right. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Want to be good. I think I have the opportunity, and knowing what I know from last season.
I know you can get it done, man.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, that's why I say 2, because I know what I experienced last season, and I don't expect it to be very much different this season. And I'll already remember, I've already now hunted more than I did last season up to this point.
Right.
Because last season I didn't go out until September 29th, and I only went out for about 3 hours in an evening. I did like a 3:30 to 6:30.
Yeah, it was like a little recon mission.
Exactly.
Which was cool.
It was kind of more of one of those like still hunt in recon type things to get a lay of the land and figure things out. And then I didn't hunt again until my rut week in November.
Yeah.
And even then, the first morning, I wasn't out in the dark. That first morning out, I did one more recon on the ground, still hunting in.
Yeah.
And then I went out and brought the stand the next day.
Sure. And
did the whole thing. But yeah, the first like full morning hunt, I walked in like as light was coming up, but I wanted to still hunt across the field to see if I catch something in one of the field. So like there was a method to the madness of things, and then I didn't really hunt super hard again until like the whole month of December
because you had your game plan.
And I saw so many deer. So that's where I'm like, I know it's still early. There's still a lot of time. There's going to be a lot of opportunities. Now I'm going to hunt less of those weekdays that I did last year, just because of the way vacation time pans out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also where my mindset's changed. Is I am not going to be so selective. Whereas last year, I passed on so many things. And I know a lot of times that's the excuse of like, you just can't kill something or couldn't get a shot. So you just use the excuse and tell yourself, oh, I passed on that. Oh, I passed. No, like legitimately, I was passing on these deer because they were right under me. It was easy. It was like scrub small bucks. And I told myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to shoot a small doe. I'm like, I have all season. This is more of me to just figure this out and learn. And I don't need to kill a deer. It's not like I'm going to feel any better if I do. Then, now not having venison, it's like, okay, I missed it. I wish I would have. So it changed my mindset. Last year I had a different mindset than this year. I'm still confident.
It's I don't know. That whole pass thing is something that I fight too, because I know that we have good deer up by us, and I'm totally fine with my dad shooting spikes and whatever, but I just don't want to shoot a spike. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's just
that's where I was at after having the chance at that giant that I saw, which I'm still shocked that that was all I saw, and that became the gold standard for me. Not necessarily that.
It's so easy to have that happen,
right? Not that, but just going, okay, there's big deer here. I don't need to shoot a spike.
Right.
Like let that spike or that what was that weird little like. I don't know. I think it was even a 4-pointer. It had like that one long tine that was really weird, and then like a weird like. Tiny hand on the other side. It was the weirdest. I was like, nah, I'm going to let you pass and just watch you walk by.
Yeah.
And then all the does that I'd passed on. There was probably one instance where I wanted to take a shot at a doe, but she was in the one spot that I just couldn't get to her.
Yeah.
Because it was behind me in the tree in the way. If I was in a saddle, I would have easily had a shot.
Sure.
But because I was stand versus saddle, I couldn't quite get that. And by the time I thought about how I could make it work, she just kind of turned around and slowly walked away. I never got busted or blown at or any of that ever all season. So that was a win last year.
Yeah, my only exception to the rule is a doe with a fawn. That's the only time I'm not shooting a doe.
Yeah. So we've gone on way too long.
And this was a good one. We just started spitballing there.
I said in the start it was going to be kind of just like a open freelance, like whatever comes up. And that's always what's fun about it. Because, again, the name of the show is Tailgate Talk. When you're hanging around your friends around the tailgate of the bonfire, what happens? A lot of times things just go places you didn't expect.
Yeah.
You have weird conversations. It's hard to say goodbye. We've already tried to say goodbye, 3 times in the last 30 seconds. It's the Midwestern thing coming out in us. So we're really going to say goodbye for this time. For Tasker, Wags, I'm Ritter, and this is Tailgate Talk. Look out for deer.